Hola, mi nombre es Luciano, soy de Red Animalista de Argentina y pienso que es muy importante terminar con la agricultura animal para acabar con el sufrimiento de millones de animales no humanos. Y también es importante para reducir las consecuencias del cambio climático que afectará a millones de personas en todo el mundo, especialmente aquellas que están en situación de pobreza. Agradecemos enormemente a Thrive Philanthropy por apoyar nuestro trabajo en favor de los demás animales.
All right, we are live. We are live. Thank you for tuning in. Let me help you, a loved one or friend, find your vegan soul through food, people, events, and culture. We are preparing for what? The last couple of months of the years for giving. And also World Vegan Month is in November. And my guest today is going to tell us all about giving and all about vegan advocacy as we need to see it globally. Please welcome Jessika Ava, the founder and CEO of Thrive Philanthropy.
Hi, Naijha. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to having you on. So please, can you tell us, Jessika, what is Thrive Philanthropy?
Absolutely. So Thrive Philanthropy is a global grant maker and movement builder, and we have a mission to overcome industrialized animal agriculture and create just plant-based food systems worldwide. We do this by offering financial grant support and also offering movement building and capacity building support to organizations all across the globe.
Look at what we have here. So grant making, 219 grants, 77 countries and 6 continents. Why is this so important, Jessika? Why are you doing this? Talk to us about your background.
Absolutely. So Thrive Philanthropy, the way that I kind of see philanthropy is that it's almost like the invisible force behind a social justice cause. Because as we know, where there's money, campaigns tend to be larger, those tactics tend to be used, those voices tend to be louder. And within the plant-based space, we tend to find that a lot of the funding is directed towards organizations, campaign individuals that just have easier access to the funding. So these tend to be people who are coming from Western countries like the United States, Europe, some European countries, people who speak English. English is their first language, people who might be more well-connected in the movement. And the funding also tends to go to, just kind of your typical Western campaigns, the vegan challenges and so forth. And also the funding also tends to go to more larger, more established organizations that have been around for several years. But at Thrive, we were looking at this and we were thinking, okay, this is fine. There's a lot of work that's happening across the United States and Europe and so forth. But there's also industrialized animal agriculture is a worldwide issue. It has a global impact. So that means that we as a movement need to also have a global impact. We need to have work. We need to have campaign work, intervention work that's happening worldwide as well. So at Thrive, what we do is we actively work to dismantle the funding accessibility barriers for individuals and organizations all across the globe, not just in these more Western global North countries. So we actively work to dismantle the funding accessibility barriers so more organizations across the globe can have access to the funding. And then we also work to ensure that the types of campaigns that we fund are culturally appropriate, that they are more diverse, that they are the types of work that will happen in regions all across the world, even if it might look different than what would happen across the United States or European countries. And then, yeah,
culturally relevant. Give me an example of that. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think the first video you showed is a perfect example. So the first video you showed, this is one of the organizations that we fund across Kenya. And this is actually a media interview that they're doing. The dance that they were doing, this is actually a media interview for a campaign called the Thrive Africa Vegan Restaurant Week campaign. And so this shows that within Kenya, the type of work that's going to be done is going to be completely different than the type of work that might be done in the United States, for example. Because in the United States, if you were doing a media interview, you probably wouldn't have a group of 5 women up in the front just doing a dance, laying vegetables on the ground and so forth. They would look completely different. So I think this gives a perfect example. With different cultures, different countries, there's going to be different tactics that work there. And we as funders need to ensure that we aren't unintentionally putting influence on the types of tactics that can be done by only funding certain types of tactics that might work in the West, but may not work elsewhere.
So I have some information from your impact report on Africa. We looked at it, briefly. Grants to 90 countries across 6 continents. But you also founded the Thrive Africa initiative. Talk to me about what success stories are going on there, because people would just think like no vegan movement is happening in Africa, but I've witnessed it. There is.
Exactly. So a few years back, we were noticing that we weren't getting very many applications coming from any African country, a few here and there, but not very many at all. And also a lot of people were telling us there's just not a vegan movement happening across Africa. And I thought, okay, surely there is, surely there are people, individuals, activists living in African countries who are also vegan, who are interested in this cause. And the few applications that we were getting, I knew that there is a movement happening there. It's just very young. It's just not quite existing yet. So what we did is we put a few movement building projects in place, our Thrive Africa programs. We have a training accelerator. We have the Thrive Africa Vegan Restaurant Week campaign. And then we also have the Thrive Africa Vegan Women's Initiative. So we put these movement building projects in place so that we could bring in folks who are interested in the vegan cause coming from an Africa-based country and support them in building an organization, strengthening their leadership, finding funding opportunities. And since that time, also, I want to mention that we have Africa-based staff. So it's not me in the United States doing this. In Uganda. That's a very important thing. And then we also have our advisory committee. Just wanted to mention that. It's not me sitting in the US doing this. And so since that time, we started this work in about 2020. So it's been going on for about 5 years now. And since that time, we have observed an exponential growth in the number of an exponential growth in the vegan movement across the region. We've observed an exponential growth in the number of campaigns across the region, and the number of grants that we've distributed across the region, and just the number of advocates that are joining our programs and joining the campaigns and getting involved in the cause. And we just recently were at a summit, which you were at too, Naijha, and you met all of those amazing activists. And the vast majority of them have only been doing work, the last few years. And a large percentage of them got their start with some of the work that Thrive has been doing. So we've been able to really see a huge growth in the movement across the region, coming from our movement building projects, and also, of course, being supported by the grants, the seed grants that we're able to give in that region as well.
Jessika, I didn't know what I was going to be getting myself involved with when it was Pro Veg International one year that I think asked me to do a presentation for the group of Thrive members. I think we were talking about, it was the vegan restaurant week, the Maryland Vegan Restaurant initiative that we have here. So I presented, and then I talked about the way we do campaigns in the U.S. Through Black Veg Society and also the Land of Kush, the vegan restaurant that I own. And then I found out about the Thrive Philanthropy through Women Funders and Animal Rights, also a collective giving organization. And then you were seeking board members, and you know the story. You were asking for certain things, like Jessika was asking if you can donate $25,000 to be a board member. And I'm like, I don't have $25,000. You know, I'm always looking for $25,000 to do the work that we're doing with Black Veg Society. But what I do have is some type of value to add. I never thought and would have never imagined that I would be actually going to Africa and experiencing and meeting the people, the grantees that you are funding. I mean, it felt like home. And I'm so happy you said and mentioned that it's not you doing the work. You have people on the continent that look like them that's doing the work. And that's very important, because there's just a lot of exploitation and, you know, not really true work, authentic work to make an impact into people's communities. So you're really showing and proving the Black, Indigenous, and people of color initiatives. So that's why you're so loved. I know there's challenges. Let's talk about that. We know the funding challenges. What else and why?
Yeah, most of the challenges go back to funding, and it's not only just the lack of funding. I mean, the entire movement has that challenge. We're nothing unique. But I think one of the unique challenges with Thrive is because we do things so differently, because we don't necessarily use a Western approach. I mean, like you said, we have staff and regional committees, advisory committees all over the world, across Africa, but then other regions of the world as well. And we base a lot of the decisions on them, on what they believe is going to be most effective in their regions of the world. And also we use a more equitable funding approach. We use what is called a trust-based philanthropy approach, if that means anything to your listeners. And this is kind of a funding approach that works to kind of equalize the power between a funder and a grantee. And we really defer to the grantee to decide what's going to work best in their region of the world, as opposed to us as funders coming in and saying, we will only fund XYZ campaigns. And this approach is a bit different than what can be seen in other types of foundations and funding spaces. So this also makes it a bit more challenging for us to be able to get access to the more larger grants, the more larger funding space, so that we can go in and distribute the funding to organizations across the world. So that's one of the main challenges, is that we have so many grant applications, so many members joining our Thrive Africa campaign or Thrive Africa movement building projects, and there's just not enough funding to distribute to everyone who needs it. We're able to fund maybe about 30% of the grant applications that come in. So that, again, is one of the biggest challenges, is getting the funding and then also being able to redistribute the funding out, because, again, there's just not enough of it, unfortunately.
I see you, VR, watching from Kenya. Thank you for tuning in. I had the pleasure of spending a week at the first ever, shout out to the Animal Rights and Vegan Advocacy Summit. They had the first one on the continent in Kenya, and it was amazing. And I understand they're going to Ghana, so I'm going to go to Ghana too. Are you going to Ghana?
We'll be there. We will both be there. Absolutely.
Awesome. I see you there, Constantine. Pleasure to follow you and listen through. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. Jessika, I'm going to be real. Why is this a problem? This funding problem? We see the impact. Folks, I put up the website. People that want to make an impact, and you don't have to be a big donor. Jessika has rolled out a Thrive Community Grant Maker program that you can donate as little as $5 a month. I'm in the program trying to work my way to $25, maybe $100 a month. You can donate, and talk to us about that program.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited about this. So at Thrive, I've been explaining how we make funding decisions differently. Like we do philanthropy different, but we also work differently with donors as well. And we see that there is equal value whether you're an average everyday donor or whether you are a major donor who can give hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we also wanted to make philanthropy. We wanted to share the power of grant making. We wanted to make philanthropy where it's not only the foundations, it's not only Thrive who's making the decisions on where the grants go, but it's also people who are actually on the ground doing the work, and also just your average everyday donor. How can they also be involved in the grant decision making? So what we did is we launched the Thrive Community Grantmaker Program. And what this is that anyone, like you said, it starts at $5 a month. You can donate any amount that you want, $5 or more. And as long as you are a monthly donor, we invite you to take part in making decisions and voting on who receives the Thrive Community Grant each quarter. So that means that the average person who donates just a few dollars a month, it now has the opportunity to also work in grant making and make grant decisions, decide where the funding will be allocated, anywhere. And we are able to bring in 3 potential grantees each quarter.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're able to bring in 3 each quarter, and then each quarter, those who are involved in the Thrive Community Grantmaker are able to vote. And then also a fun thing about the Thrive Community Grantmaker is that it's not only open to our monthly donors, but it's also open to all of our grantees as well. So that means that anyone who is their voice as well, and they're also taking part in the decision making and able to vote on where the Thrive Community Grant goes each quarter. So if anyone wants to get involved in grant making and grant decision making and helping to distribute funding all across the world, join our Thrive Community Grant Making Program, and we'd love to have you. We'd love to hear your voice.
Absolutely. And I have the Thrive, I have the Impact site on here. You can go to thrivephilanthropy.org, find out about the Impact, and you will also find out about how to become a community grant maker, which this year we voted on. It was Vegan Journey. So the radio show. It was a radio show that's based in Nigeria. So I was so happy to hear that, because the radio, you never know who's listening, and you never know who you're impacting or making an impact on when you're on the radio. So I was just so happy that Vegan Journey was a winner. And was this the first one? This was the first one, right?
This was the third one. So we started earlier this year. Yeah. So Vegan Journey won this quarter. They won, actually, it's just been about a week ago that they won, that we announced that. And they are they're doing some of the first vegan work across Nigeria. And they are doing the very first vegan radio show within Nigeria, reaching hundreds of thousands of people through this. It's a public radio station. So it's not just an individual podcast. It's on like a publicly broadcasted radio station. And then in addition to that, she's also working with schools, doing educational campaigns across schools and so forth. But then last quarter, we had an organization called Sneha's Care in Nepal, and they do various types of festivals and advocacy campaigns. They work with rural women. And in addition to that, they also have a sanctuary as well. And then the first quarter, we had an organization called Gulay Na in Philippines, and they advocate for indigenous seeds and indigenous foods. So they work to fight against Western globalization of food, fast foods, and so forth, and advocate for the more indigenous traditional diets.
I love it, folks. I gotta put you, if you haven't gone to the website, you have to go to the website. I'm on the website trying to navigate onto different pages, and it's just taking long to load on my end. What can we do for you? What is the call to action? We know funding, but how do you want this to happen? How do we reach out to you and make this happen? What if this was a call to the biggest donor or the smallest donors? What would you have to say to them?
Yeah, if you want to donate and support the global vegan movement, please make a donation. Just go to our website. Donation, any amount, is highly valuable. join the Thrive Community Grantmaker Program. It's just right under the donate button. The value of that is that you're making a donation, but also your voice and your expertise and your background, your lived experience is being heard and contributed to the grant decision making. And then also, if you are working, if you're doing campaigns across the globe, feel free to take a look at our website, apply for a grant if you're eligible. We also have leadership workshops. We have a fundraising accelerator that's going to be starting next year. So if any of those are useful for you, we highly encourage you to take advantage of those as well, because we also want to build up the skill set and the leadership of the global movement as well.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about the programs that are being offered through Thrive Philanthropy. When you land on the Thrive Africa site, oh my God, it's like a number of things. Like I said, I didn't know what I was walking into, but I want to be like you when I grow up.
I can say the same thing, Naijha.
Constantine, I see you there. You're following and listening through. And Constantine is actually listening in all the way from Uganda, Africa. And I had the pleasure of meeting Constantine at the summit. And they are doing an incredible, amazing, impactful work. So please, you have to go onto the Thrive Philanthropy site. Learn about this. Like if I was rich, I'm telling you, my tithe, my 10% will be going to Thrive Philanthropy, and then everything else will be going to Blackfish Society. But it's been a pleasure, Jessika. I know you're busy as a founder, executive director, CEO, traveling all of the continents to do your research and to meet all of these amazing grantees. So I don't want to take up a lot of your time. If there was one thing that you just wanted to say about people starting up a nonprofit or organization, because I'm still learning after 10 or some odd years, what would it be about starting up a philanthropic organization and making an impact?
Oh, that is the $1 million question. I don't know if I have a good answer. I think my answer would be, it depends. It depends on where you're located. It depends on your mission. But I guess like one word of advice that I will give is that stay focused on your mission. Do what you strongly feel is the most important.
As a woman, I forgot to add, as a woman.
As a woman, I think this will go both ways. This will go as a woman as well. Like, stay focused on what you believe is the most impactful, and don't let yourself get sidetracked by all the noise. You'll find that there's grant opportunities that might be available, but only for a specific type of campaign, and that campaign might just not be that effective in your region. So rather than, wasting your time on doing that ineffective campaign just to get the money, focus on what will be effective, and focus on finding grant opportunities and funding opportunities that will fund the type of work that you're doing. And then as a woman, I think, it as you know, Naijha, I think it takes just all that more strength, because we have all these other issues that we're having to deal with, and we're balancing all the other aspects of life and so forth. So take a lot of time for yourself. Just take good care of yourself, and mentally and physically, have lots of good friends, have a good community around you, and don't burn out.
Jessika, it's been a pleasure. And you said something very important. Don't burn out, because this movement, any movement that you're really passionate about and it's part of your purpose can burn you out. You have to reset, recharge, relax, all of that. Self-care is not selfish. So please, again, thrivephilanthropy.org. You can donate at thrivephilanthropy.org. Please check out the impact reports. Thank you very much, Agora. Big, huge to Jessika from Angola. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone really soon. Stay blessed, stay well. And World Vegan Month, November, y'all. Y'all going to be giving back. Give back to veganism domestically and globally, because we all need your support. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you, Naijha. Thanks, everyone.
Meeting you where you are. The meaning behind the slogan is that we meet the community where they are, on their journey towards holistic health, a plant-based lifestyle, and veganism, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. We do this through people, food, events, and culture. Our 6 pillars are earth, eating, education, empowerment, enlightenment, and events. We are Black Veg Society.